website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello, my friends. Hello, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Good to see everybody once again. Hello from the Great Smoky Mountains and our new home. So I want to welcome everybody aboard, and I can't wait to hear what you guys want to talk about tonight. How does everything sound? Let me ask you that. Hopefully everything sounds good there. This is our first go at this location, as we have said, and basically spent the last like 48 hours moving and getting situated, and it feels beautiful up here in the mountains. What a difference. And all my friends and family down in Florida, you know, guys, I'm hearing from you guys that you're still feeling it. And I actually heard reports that the red tide is all the way up in the Panhandle now. And that's definitely not a good thing. And yeah, I would have hoped that everything would have been washed away by the storms and everything. But it's a bad situation, and it's still ongoing. And the one thing I could tell you is there's such an energetic difference when you get away from civilization and you're out there a little bit. What a difference in the energy, because we are so blasted with all this electromagnetic frequency energy all day long, every day. If you're living in an urban situation, a suburban situation, you might not notice it, but it's always blasting you. And when you could get away from it somewhat, boy, you could feel so much more peaceful. So guys, it's so good to see all these beautiful names in the chat room. So many people I love dearly, and I thank you guys so much for your support. So there's been a lack of videos the last several days, and that's because of the move. And so now we're situated in a place that feels really good, and we've made it out of Florida, survived intact. Many people were telling me for a long time, when you're getting out of there, you know, why you're still there. And so many of our family members are still there. And I love Florida. I really do. I absolutely love it. I adore it. I love the beach. And of course, this year has been a horrible one. Brother Mark over there, he said everybody should have respiratory masks on right now if you're in Florida. And that's true. It really is true. And so good to see all you guys checking in. It's true. It's such a horrible situation going on right now. And I'm not sure if it's all red tide or not. You know, I really am not. Because the very first time I got sick, and I have not had breathing problems in 12 to 15 years. And I was at the beach early. It was, well, early for me. It was maybe 9:30 in the morning. And they were laying the chemtrails. And it was before the red tide was just before they started talking about it. And I could just feel it burning my sinuses, and there was right around me a couple dozen people, and they all started coughing, and we all felt it. And so it took a long time to get rid of it. It's not a good situation. There's more things going on than meet the eye. There's a lot going on right now. There is a lot going on right now. Good to see all you guys. Well, thank you so much, Brother Keith. It's all about lifting each other up, loving each other as you are, and helping each other out through these times, because these are the times that have been spoken of for thousands of years. And these are special times. In my last video, I was talking about how these are the times of the apocalypse. They really are. And so many people think of apocalypse automatically. Probably the first thing that comes to your mind is like death and destruction. But in reality, apocalypse means unveiling. We'll see the reality of things, because things are changing. Things are changing. We're waking up in one sense, but we're changing in our ability to perceive that which we have not been able to perceive clearly in the past. So it's a beautiful thing, because in a way, well, thank you so much, Mark. In a way, you could view it as we're truly coming online now. And the most important thing for us to do is to be prepared in every way, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. As I believe that we are spiritual beings having a physical existence, I think that this is truly not home for us. This is where we are basically learning. We're in school here. We're learning, and we're waking up, and we're, in many cases, as everybody in this family, as we're doing, is we're helping others wake up. And we're also making others aware of what's going on. So, Brother Mark, do you want to get across any points? As I see you in the chat room there. And Mark has his own page, and it's on Facebook, and he does earthquake forecasting. And honestly, I haven't looked at the USGS, I think, in 36 hours, which is probably the longest time in the past couple of years. I haven't looked at the USGS or checked out earthquakes on one of the other channels as well, like CSEM, EMSC, because we're going through these earth changes. Will Sever is heading for Asheville if the grid goes down. Many people are heading for the mountains in various areas, and there are gorgeous mountains all through Georgia and Tennessee, North Carolina, Western Virginia, up into West Virginia, even up into New Hampshire and Maine. Brother Mike, Dr. Mike, is up in Maine, and that's where he is going to go through all these things that we're experiencing now. Mark is bringing up, we need to have a discussion about how we're going to communicate when the lights go out. And when, that's one of the things, that is one of the things I was feeling strongly. And one of the strongest things I was getting a sense of, and really wanted to get situated as quick as possible, because I feel that we're going to start to now experience the grid going down, perhaps in patches at first, in areas, and just a few days at a time here and there, but it's going to be going down. We know that. And as the fifth world is talking about in the chat room, the purifier is here. Everything we experience is a choice now, according to the Hopi. And I've been looking at that as well, going deeper into the Hopi prophecies, Blue Kachina and Red Kachina. And it strikes me, it's like, think about it. Just think about it. Okay, so the Christians are waiting for the return of Christ. And really, the Native Americans and the Hopi, they're waiting for the return of the white Pahana. They're waiting for the return of the benevolent white brother. And basically there are other Native American tribes that are, and not just Native American tribes, but indigenous people that are waiting for the return of the benevolent star beings, light beings, positive beings that have not been here for a while. We've been on our own, but when you look at it, that's what it's all pointing to, as well as the fact that we are changing ourselves. We are changing. Our whole understanding of what we are, as the fifth world's pointing out, is changing. We're learning exactly what we are, the bigger picture. And as Gordon says, that is why love matters. And Love Matters is also there in the chat room as well. So you guys, we have a call-in number, and it's 614-400-5835. Again, 614-400-5835. And you could call in and see what you want to talk about. There are so many things to talk about. I've been listening and keeping up with this whole thing that's been going on with the observatory that was shut down, and then I was listening to Rex Bear over at Leak Project, as well as John X Army and others all talking about this. And apparently there was a dead hiker found pretty close by that area as well, and they were wondering if that was part of it. Exactly what's going on, what were they hiding, and supposedly, they came out with a statement that it was just security related, and, it wasn't Planet X, it wasn't Nibiru, things like that. It wasn't necessarily anything to do with the sun itself. There was definitely insinuation out there that it could be something to do with the Chinese spying and looking in. And, it's interesting what's going on, because you guys are seeing changes in the sky. You're seeing unexplained things in the sky. Thank you for calling in, caller. Who do we have with us now?
My name is Tori. I'm a big fan of your show.
Well, thank you for joining us. What would you like to talk about today, Tori?
Well, there's like a number of things. I do follow on the current events taking place in this world. There's a lot of questions. Well, I would say one of my main concerns is with the observatory. I think what do you feel about the observatory?
It definitely feels like a cover-up. I mean, I do think something's here. I've gotten more and more convinced as time has gone on that everything we're seeing, all the changes we're seeing, are being caused by probably either planetary or some sort of celestial bodies that are in our vicinity. And it always hit me as just something that really struck me, the blue and red Kachina's prophecy, especially because when my daughter was 8 years old, and she did not know this prophecy at all. At 8 years old, she had no clue. She came running into my bedroom one morning and told me, Daddy, there was this huge red planet or sun. It was big and red up in the sky, and it was sucking people up into it, and it sucked you up. And you went like all the way up into the sky into it. And it scared her so bad at 8 years old. It always stuck with her. It always stuck with me. And then she also had dreams at the same time of tsunamis and needing to get off the coast. And so as soon as she was able, she did.
I live by the beach. It's my number one concern. Like, am I going to wake up to a tsunami one day? Like, there's something like a tsunami zone area. But as far as extra believe it. They say all the stars in the sky that we see, that all that light to get to Earth for us to see takes light years for that light to get here, and the majority of the stars we see in the sky are dead, that they're all done. I don't know if you've heard of that they're all burnt out already. And a lot of people don't know that, but because it takes light years for that light to get here, we can see the light, but the majority of the stars we see now are all dead. Is that correct?
I haven't heard that. There would be some that I would think could be gone, and not putting out light anymore. I wouldn't say I would think that it would be the majority of them, but there definitely could be some because of the distances and all. So it probably is a decent percentage, but I don't know what it would be exactly.
Because I remember one of my classes and one of my courses, we talked about that. I don't know if this is called astronomy, right? I get confused with astronomy and astrology.
Right, yeah.
I think it's astronomy class.
Yes.
So in that class, the professor did say that a large majority of the stars are all burnt out. They're dead. So, which leads me to think, okay, our sun is not out. We're alive. We're here. So the little stars that are left, I would say our sun is one of those stars left out there. So that really narrows down how many stars still exist in this galaxy and full of life. And if our star is one of the few of the stars left, I would say the chances of like some extraterrestrial being running into this star are very high because the majority of the stars in the sky are already burnt out. I don't know the percentage, but I think it's like over 50%. Like all of the stars that we see now are dead, and it takes, like I said, light years for that light to even get to us to see. And that's what baffles me. Like, so maybe there is something out there, and they're not talking about it, and it's causing all this mayhem. It's not normal what we're experiencing right now. And then as far as the pollution with the gasoline, the cars, is there another alternative that our gasoline engine cars, like fuel, another type of fuel aside the gasoline that the engines can burn? Or is gasoline the only thing our engines can burn? Is there another type of fuel that can replace gasoline with zero emission? Like some other type of liquid that's not a fossil fuel?
I've heard people talk of hemp, actually being a possibility, as well as other sources as well. I think there's probably multiple ones that would actually work, but it's suppressed, because it all comes down to the corporations making money. And, that's one of the things we discover is that it's really all about the corporations, just like unfortunately, as much as your doctor, your MD might want to make you better, he has quotas too to make sure he gets the deepest discounts on pharmaceuticals and whatever it is. It's not really set up for the health and well-being of the people and the populace. It's all about money and control and keeping people in control. And so they do come down on any sort of technologies like that. And you'll see them buy up patents and bury them, as well as people just kind of disappear when they, have these great discoveries, and they put out these, they want to bring out these technologies forth. A lot of times things that are negative end up happening to them. It's all Big Brother. It's all under control, and I'm sure there's those alternative technologies out there, but unfortunately we don't get to see them.
Because I feel that there is some technology out there where you could maybe convert water into some type of fuel and use that to propel our engines, our cars. But it's not out yet. I don't know if they're waiting until the earth is split in half or what. But all that fracking and all that oil being pumped out of the ground, just leaving these holes in underground, and I can only imagine what happens when they're empty. I don't know if it caves in and then boom, causes the ground to crack and split and causes earthquakes, maybe alleviates fault lines, and causes the pressure to explode. I don't know, like, but I feel that we're in for a rude awakening, and if we continue to suck the oil out of the ground, we're only gonna keep not only destroying the habitat and the environment, like our ocean, but we're gonna ultimately just destroy the earth and the humans. Like I don't know, like something bad is happening. With more people, more problems, and as with the years and the days go by, I just feel like we're just getting more and more populated, and we're just destroying our environment, and I don't know what's gonna happen. Yeah, we're like in a recession. A lot of people going crazy, and yeah, I feel the tension and the pressure. I feel like we're about to enter another world war or something, because the dollar is collapsing, or not the dollar, but world currencies are collapsing, and yeah, it's just bad right now.
It is. It's definitely a time of change, and all these things are happening at the same time, and part of it is the disharmony of humanity with the earth itself. And if you look at the dominant religions on the planet, they've now been twisted to where they're so one-sided and so patriarchal, and there's no balance, and you could just see it in the way the corporations treat the planet itself. It's as if they hate it, with their poisoning and their pollution and everything that they're introducing into the planet that's so detrimental to the life of everything on the planet. It's so obviously aggressively detrimental, and it just causes a bigger, it's basically exacerbating everything that's going on. It's just making it worse and worse. So it's up to all of us to basically band together and to get out of under their control and basically be the change we want to be ourselves, and then lead others to that change. And in time, get more and more people to basically, step out of the corporate umbrella, because it's through these corporations that they control us. And we have to basically take that away by uniting together and showing them that we don't need them anymore, and getting back in harmony with the earth. You could just follow it right on down from, back in the time of, it goes back so far. It goes through so many different expansions. The westward expansion of the white man and putting down all the indigenous people on this, in the northern hemisphere, and then also in North America, Central America, South America, just completely out of balance with life, which you don't see with say the Aboriginals in Australia, or the tribes down in the Amazon, or what Native Americans had in here in North America. I'm in Cherokee land now, and you could feel the energies here. They're different. If you're in tune and you're sensitive, you could feel, and it might sound a little crazy to some people, but you could feel the spirits of nature around you. You could sense things, and it feels so much more peaceful and in harmony than when we get into a city where it has that crazy hectic vibe. So yeah, I agree with all that you're saying there, brother, and thank you so much for the call and for sharing with us and everything that you're thinking.
Thank you for answering the phone. I'm a big fan of your show. I sometimes I usually watch your show right before going to bed, and that's like every other night, I would say. I mean, you're not the only one I watch. I like to watch Mr. MVP3. He's cool, and you for the most part. But yeah, you guys are the two shows I will sit down and watch. And yeah, I appreciate your work. I'm a big fan, and I hope you continue to spread the word and continue to enlighten people and open their minds and the world. And hopefully you can make a change in this world. And we'll be hearing about you worldwide soon. Good because you also do report real news, not fake news.
Well, thank you so much for sharing all that, and I hope so. And I love MBB too. He's one of my favorites. And whenever we get into the weather stuff, I love BP Earthwatch too. He's got a great heart, and he's another one that keeps really good track of everything going on especially when it's hurricane time. But there's a lot of these people out there now that are bringing it nice, true, and straight with no spin, like we see so obviously from the mainstream. It could be just maddening to listen to them. And then also some of them that are just so obviously one-sided, whether it's the right or the left. Because we really have to step back and look at the big picture, and not get put into the matrix, not allow ourselves to be pushed into taking a side, and allowing ourselves to step out of it and just saying, well, my side's the side of the planet and humanity, period. What's for the best for the planet and the best for humanity. That's what I really, really want. And that's what I see with this family. And so thank you so much, brother, for being part of this family.
Oh, yes, thank you. Absolutely. Very much appreciate it. I hope you have a good night. And hopefully I get back on the show whenever you do another live, because there's so many questions and things to talk about.
Definitely. And now that I'm settled in, we'll have more lives. We'll be going live a lot more. Probably 3 or 4 times a week on a regular basis.
Nice. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure. And like I said, been listening to you for quite some time.
Well, great. I appreciate it. Namaste, my brother.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice night.
You too. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hello, Michael. It's Ray Ray.
Ray, how are you, my dear brother?
Fantabulous.
That was a good... Oh, good. That was a good caller we had. First time call in and brought up some really good points. There's so much going on, so much change. It's beautiful, isn't it?
I'm impressed with the fact that people are starting to think outside the box on a collective, scale, I guess you could say.
Definitely.
The vernacular is changing all over media. It's in people's social media. The complete vernacular has changed, It's impressive.
It is. And, it's like we have to get as many people awake as possible and understanding what's going on. The manipulation that's going on, that's so obvious to us, but then also, the bigger picture, because ultimately what's happening, the change that's happening is going to lead to something beautiful. And I know you get that really well.
Well, I know you could probably feel me right now, my excitement, or that's yours. I have some pretty groundbreaking information.
What you got?
Well, let's just say hypothetically, I've been resonating with the original fractal Ashtar for 2 months now, and just received a coded message, pretty much, that it is time, and if the warrior part needs to come out, then it will be as it should be, because it has been long enough. So the galactics are here, and it is showtime, and I know you can feel it. I bring 5D vision. I had it today. Quite interesting. It is like seeing here. It was like seeing into multiple mirrors, and the objects that I was seeing was extremely vivid and digital, and could be changed at will. So quantum leap, I would say.
We're getting it from sources that are unexpected too. And I was listening, I did, 20 hours worth of driving, what have you. And so I was listening to Benjamin Fulford, who I take with a grain of salt, because there's a lot in there that doesn't, it seems a little fluffy, but then he always has some nuggets that are really true as well, and cut to the chase. And I was shocked to hear what he was saying. because he's always talked about things of this earth. He's never really gone off planet or interdimensional on us. And in his last one, he just came right out and was talking about that. He was talking about basically the same stuff, the blue and red Kachina, and the galactics, and seeing the ships in the sky, or whatever you want to call it. Just alluding, like he said, well, we've all talked about how there's the shadow government, there's these different factions in the shadow government, and that we know that at some level they are being headed by things that are not human, plain and simple, things that are not human. And so he was coming right out and saying that, and it's as I'm driving, my jaw just hit the floor down by the gas pedal, and I had to pick it up, scoop it up, put it back into place. And I was just so surprised to hear that. And then like a little bit later into his thing, like 10 minutes later, he said, you might be, thinking to yourself, am I listening to the wrong show? But this is what we're getting. So we are very close to seeing something like that, to seeing the ships in the sky, which many people are going to say are Project Bluebeam. But then I've listened to others that it's not
Project
Bluebeam.
Bluebeam is squashed. It is done. It will never even happen. Done. We're tired of it, bro. It's done. And the creators that are here and resonate with their creating abilities, and the other light workers, the light grid is in place. I personally went Optimus Prime today and hammered the earth with pure white energy, and that ain't nothing to play with. So after that, I find out that, hypothetically, let's say, that I'm Ashtar incarnate, pretty much resonating with him as my higher self. No wonder Michael's been my guide. Duh. Makes sense now. But it's good times coming.
Yeah, ultimately it's a positive thing, because what we see, if you really look at it, these beings that were here before, they taught us how to, do agriculture. They taught us how to heal. They taught us so many different things. And then for some reason they left. They disappeared. They were benevolent. And then after they left, the gap was filled by beings that are not so benevolent, that have controlled us, that have manipulated us and kept us in darkness. And so this puts all those stories together, the biblical stories, the Native American, the indigenous, the Aborigines. They all kind of come together, and it gives you a clear understanding.
Every single culture has truth, and every single one of them will come true. That is how it is. We are millions of fractals, billions, infinite numbers that are the great I am. We are experiencing everything that is to be experienced, that is possible to be experienced in any single level, dimension, reality, parallel reality is being experienced at once, and now we are coming back. You see what I'm saying?
It's
just an awareness of consciousness, and once you can resonate with being love, it's on.
It's beautiful.
The possibilities are limitless. I'm now resonating with my Tibetan roots, and I'm shape-shifting. I have to be careful what I say from now on. But, yes, pupils are going square, manifesting reality in the now. Telepathy, people, is the future. It was the past 100 million years ago. It will be the future. It has been taken from us, and it is being restored.
Yeah, it's all about dimensions, and somebody mentioned hearing little beeps and wondering if my phone's going dead. Those are all other calls coming in, so just so you guys know, there's a bunch of calls coming in. But thank you so much, brother, for sharing. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You know I love you, and it's great to hear your voice.
Love and light, brother.
Take care, brother. Great call from our brother Ray Ray, and we have another caller with us right now. And you are on the air, caller?
I'm on it?
Yep, you are on the air. Who do we have with us now?
I'm Cody Rock.
And what would you like to talk about, my friend?
Well, there's a lot of things we could talk about. It really depends on what all he has to mention. I would like to talk about how God's real and everything's fake, and how, I don't know, I got so many things I could sit there and talk about.
Awesome. Could you turn down the radio or the internet on the other side there a little bit, just so we don't get the feedback? But yeah, you mentioned everything is fake, and that's what we're starting to recognize, that we live in a matrix. You know, we really do. And this is basically a matrix that we can control if we wake up to it. Is that kind of like what you're alluding to?
Yeah. Well, I do know that everything has been hidden from us. Everything has been lied about. I want to say that most of our government is actually in a deep state, and they're not even controlled like we think they are. It's all a farce. It's all fake. NASA has been proven to be fake for the last 10 years, and no one actually acknowledges it.
Yeah, it's, well, we know NASA, never a straight answer, and you know, you got to question everything. I did a video, oh gosh, it's probably been about 8 or 9 months ago, where you actually see like this NASA crew of 3, and they start fading out just as they're waving goodbye. You start to see like 2 of them, well, all 3 of them, it's like their bottom halves disappear. It's like it was completely made up. Yep. And it really gets you to question everything. Many people question, did we ever land on the moon? I mean,
no,
even...
We haven't. I can sit there and talk about that for a second. I forget his name at the moment. I'm having a hard time. Guy that put the flag on the moon.
Was that
Neil?
Neil Armstrong, yeah.
Neil came out not even a month ago and saying to an 8-year-old that we can't go back because we never went.
Yes.
Now the man that put the flag on the moon said we didn't go because we can't go. What does that mean?
Well,
the man that put the flag there said we can't go.
Does it mean we're not allowed to?
Yeah. So
perhaps.
Everything is fake. I don't even know how else to explain it, but it's so, like the shuttle that blew up, all 7 astronauts you can find. You can find every astronaut that blew up in that shuttle. What's it called again? I'm having a hard time thinking.
Was it Challenger that blew up? I'm trying to remember now.
I didn't hear you. I got mixed up a little.
Was it Challenger that blew up?
Yes, Challenger.
Challenger, right?
Challenger. Right. And you can find every astronaut that blew up in that shuttle is alive.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you know, okay, I dislike Hillary Clinton, but do you know that she's came out and said, well, we can't shatter the highest near dome above us, but someone will. That shows you right there that they're trying to ruin the dome that got put, the firmament. You can't go into outer space. There's no outer space.
So that's like getting towards, there's such a resurgence of the flat earth thing going on right now. It's perplexing for so many.
I don't want to push too much on people, but I do believe that it is totally flat. But God had said that there's 4 corners. And if you have 4 corners, you can't have a ball.
I don't remember that. Was that in, do you remember which scripture that was?
Genesis. I think it's the very beginning of Genesis. I don't want to quote it.
It's all interesting, and it's so hard to say, you know, what is an illusion and what's real. Well, it really is.
Project Bluebeam. They're going to sit there and act like they're aliens, and they've already built the technology to levitate and fly. I have an idea in my head, and all it takes is magnets rotating. You have to have levitation. You know how a magnet works, pushes and pulls.
Mm-hmm.
So if you sat there and got 3 magnets and pushed against each other, then you would have lift and propulsion which way you wanted to move it.
Right. Yeah, actually, Mark was saying it's Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin was the one that was saying that statement. I do remember watching the video clip of it. It was pretty amazing to hear him say that, you know. And then of course some say, well, you know, he's a little bit senile now. He's kind of old, and you know, but still, it's interesting.
Trust the one that done this stuff, and then he don't even know what had happened or how it was done.
Right.
You know, like you trust somebody that's supposed to know something, and then they can't even tell you the straight answer. I got something. This I'll move on to a different subject. This weather control. Do you know how many heart things they have? They made it so the first one was in Alaska.
Right.
And then they made so many more. There's at least like 7 that cannot move, and then we don't even know how many that they built that can move. They're just stationary. They just sit in the ocean, and then they sit there and put up a beam through the satellite. I don't even know what a satellite is because you can't really have satellites. I don't know. It's probably just a plane with some technology that does some weird stuff. But
there is more than one harp, and that is something that, like you said, most people don't really realize. And I remember watching that video, I think it was down in Brazil, where the people recognized it. The locals recognized it, and they knew it was not good, and they went and they smashed it. It was pretty wild. And
no, I don't like people destroying stuff, but that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I definitely don't have that destructive side, but at the same time, watching them do that and taking it down, that felt really good. It honestly did. It felt like they recognized it and knew what it was doing. And so it was, it felt like an act of liberation. And that's what really needs to go on in a global way, in the sense of we need to recognize all the little manipulation going on and get out from under it. And band together and do our own thing. You know, take power away from take power away from the corporations. You know. Yep. No, I agree. No, it's okay. I agree. I agree totally. We have to do it in our own ways, and we should do it in a non-violent, non-destructive way. Well, non-violent for sure. Yeah, but the system needs to come down. That is for sure.
That's right. Well, do you know what the system is? It's the deep state. And the deep state, we don't even know. So how are we supposed to break the system if we don't even know about it?
Well, it's waking people up to what's going on and getting enough people to step out of the matrix. And we do have a couple other callers coming in, but I want to thank you for joining us and sharing with us those points. And there's so much to talk about, so many things going on.
There is. I mean, I could go on for an hour with you, but... All right, well, I love you guys. God bless. Keep your head up. Try to be respectful to each and every person that you come across. And, yeah, that's about it.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing, brother.
No problem.
Take care.
Love you guys.
We love you too. So that was a good call. There's so much, you know, really to talk about. So many things going on, so many things that people are waking up to. And hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hey, it's T. Taylor.
Hi, how you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. What would you like to share tonight?
So, the Fifth World and I are very good friends. I run a YouTube channel showing the physical changes that many are going through right now. So I try to help people understand that process and how it correlates to the earth changes and all of this awakening stuff that's happening. So I would just like to tell everybody out there, if you're noticing these physical changes, just hang in there. We have a lot of huge energy waves coming in. Another big one at the end of September. So don't be surprised if you're fatigued. You're noticing. I actually show the crystalline DNA process or the light body process, and I break it down. So I know lots of people have questions about that because they're just starting to notice the glittering skin for themselves, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, that is something that's been coming up more and more. So give us the name of your channel again, and then can we get into that a little bit with the glittering skin?
Absolutely. So it's just under T base paler, just like it sounds. Or you can look up crystalline DNA, and lots of times you'll see like my stuff pop up.
Okay, awesome. And so, I mean, I've been hearing that more and more about people experiencing that and noticing that their skin, especially in the sunlight, is shimmering. And
right, exactly.
So it's part of our ascension process.
Yes, and most people will notice that it starts very, very small, sporadic, and microscopically. So when it first started for me, it just kind of looked like a sheen. And then I think it's because I think everybody has a beautiful puzzle piece that is unique to them that they will be bringing forward, all of us forerunners, all of us that are, quote, awakened, you could say. I don't like labels, but, you know, if we're going to put it that way. But it seems like that's kind of my puzzle piece, is to really break that process down for people. And so I started just being led to document it. I was a medical researcher before that. And so I just started kind of dissecting the process because I worked in the medical field for over 15 years. And I knew what I was seeing was not supposed to be biologically possible for a human being. I was like, the things that I'm seeing come out of my skin are not supposed to be biologically possible. It doesn't make any sense. And my colleagues were like, we don't know what to do with that. And so what a lot of people don't know is that in late spring of 2015, I think it was, most doctors within the United States and a lot of labs that tested material were given a memo that said, do not treat, examine, or diagnose the patients with the following symptoms. Most of those symptoms were Morgellons, and so this is part of the ascension process. Morgellons, I think, personally, is my perspective, is part of the ascension light body process. And so lots of people were starting to see filaments come out of their skin. They were starting to see sparkly skin, glittery skin. A lot of times when I will do visual updates on my channel, I actually show how it lights up in geometric patterns at times, which is crazy. I also showed how I emit flashes of light in the dark now. And I've also showed how I can change my pupil shapes, like that other caller was saying, rapidly into multiple other shapes on command anytime I want now. It's totally crazy. And then I've even showed what it looks like under the skin and how it looks like it's making up like a quantum biokinetic computer that is really interactive with our consciousness. So really dependent on our words and thoughts, it really changes how this works within us. So I tell everybody, if you look at this like a disease and you're sick, it's exactly what you're going to get. So you need to be very careful with your thoughts and words. And I also tell people if they tried to stop this. In fact, there's an interesting Star Trek episode from like the 80s that's called Transfigurations, which is, people should check that out. Because really, I think they tried to stop this process. Because when we activate this, we exit from the matrix. We wake up. We become more empathic. We become more loving. We become more connected. And so their last-ditch attempt at stopping it was to convince us all that we were either A, delusional, and like lots of those labs who wanted to run the samples got threatened with losing their accreditation if they actually ran the samples. So that's why we couldn't even get samples run for many years. And then it's like, you know, their last-ditch attempt was to teach us that we were either delusional or that we were sick, that it was something that was going to make us sick. So if you try to look up those symptoms, for years all you would get would be Morgellons. And that was a very scary road for people to go down.
Oh, very much so. Morgellons is, you know, when you first look at it, it's terrifying to think about it, you know, and it's always hit me. I mean, I always wondered if it was chemtrail induced.
Right.
But you're saying it's something that's actually a positive transformation.
For me, it has been, but it didn't become positive because I did the same thing at first. When I first started having some symptoms, the first thing I went to is chemtrails. I'm being turned into a transhumanistic robot because it looks computer-ish. I mean, really, the things I'm showing, like quantum dots. And they look, you know, filaments and, you know, what look like hexagonal or there's all different kinds of shapes, but I call them geometric fractals, DNA geometric fractals. They look computer-ish. So it was very scary in the beginning because I thought the same thing that most people do. This is chemtrails, I'm being poisoned. But when I looked at it in that perspective, I was very, very sick. And the things exiting my body were out of a sci-fi horror movie. But the day I claimed my sovereignty, I know that sounds kind of, you hear that sometimes within our genre, but really the day I changed my perspective and I said, hey, look, if this is what that is, let's just say for the sake of argument, that's exactly what it is. What do I do now? I have children. How do I live my life now? How do I go forward now? Because as far as I could tell, nobody could get rid of it, no matter what they did, wherever you look. So it's like, what do I do to keep continuing? I said, I'm going to go out and love because that's who I am. So I'm going to do whatever that chick in Resident Evil did. Just because she got injected with the T virus didn't mean she changed and mutated into some horrible creature. But what I find is that the more you the process continues on, and the more it integrates, the more it activates within you. I think it's dormant DNA. It's my personal perspective. Light body, Christ consciousness, crystalline DNA, rainbow warriors. There's lots of different terms for it.
Right.
The more I just started to remember, and it seems like most of us are, and so I have people writing me from all over the world at this point, all different countries, all different belief systems, all different backgrounds, all different religions, and the only thing that most of us have in common are we the most empathic, loving individuals that I've ever met, and we have a little bit of an open mind. But otherwise, most of us have nothing in common. I mean, we're all different branches of life.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. And so there's all these keywords, like the fifth world in the chat room throws out fibromyalgia, which is just this catch-all term. And there's so many of them that are out there. I mean, I myself have gone through Lyme's disease, as I know some others have as well. And we can get better. And when I got it, I was working, unfortunately or fortunately, for a pharmaceutical company. I admit, I was in that business, and I saw what was going on, and it really opened my eyes up. So that when I got sick, it's like, well, I'm not going down this route, because I could see people don't get better when they go down this route, and they're using doxycycline, then they go through Vanco and Rocephin, and they just start rolling through all these, heavy-duty antibiotics, which just destroy our whole system and create so many other, negative impacts on our health and more problems. That I went the natural route and found a naturopath and a doctor of Chinese medicine, and that really got me on my path. It was through the illness that got me fully on this path. And
exactly.
Sometimes it takes illness to wake us up to the path we're supposed to be on, and the greater reality. And I just wanted to apologize for everybody that was listening from Revolution Radio, because it looks like we lost our connection and it came back up again. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I tend to affect sound and light too, and electronics. So I hope I didn't do that, because I will take people's stuff out with internet connection. So.
Yeah, it's
like if you look at my videos, you'll notice I actually will affect sound distortion and light fluctuation. So people sometimes when they have me on, we have systems crash. So I hope that wasn't me. Sorry about that.
It very well could be, and it's interesting, because I've met quite a few people like that. One of my, and actually this just reminds me, I just want to ask everybody to say a prayer for Leah tonight. She's in the hospital, she's very ill, and she's a family member and a dear friend here locally now. And she has actually, experienced the other side clinically. And right now she's sick again, but since she came back from the other side, she does the exact same thing, where she burns out computer after computer. All the electronics just, they get fried around her. Something's changed in her wiring, but she's a beautiful soul, and she's definitely on the ascension process.
I was going to say, a lot of us have had NDEs, because that's what triggered my awakening, as I woke up from a surgery, just being able to see differently. And the same thing, electronics. I've always had issues with electronics, and she's Rh negative. Sometimes Rh negatives have a little bit bigger issue with electronics. I'm not really sure why, but that is a possibility as well.
Yeah, it's the ET blood, which I share as well.
Right, yeah. There's definitely something a little different about that. I don't think it makes anybody more special than anybody else. I just think it's a little different is what I would say, that kind of thing. But I definitely think that everybody just needs to be cognizant that I tell people there's three groups of people right now that are going through this. The people that are aware of it, that can see it. And then there's people who know something's up, but they can feel it, but they can't quite see it yet until somebody shows it to them. Because most people were like, I didn't really notice the glittering skin until I saw your video. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, it's happening to me. So now it's real. And so then you have the third group of people, which are the people that they're not really going to see it or feel it until everything's said and done. And I kind of try to add a fourth group in, which is our people that aren't going to go through this process. They're going to choose the frequencies are too high. It's not for them. No choice is wrong. So honor everybody's choice. I always say it's a sacred process, but just be cognizant that everybody's on some level at this point.
Yes. And again, it's T. Taylor is the YouTube channel for you guys to go check it out, show some love, subscribe, and learn more. And it's fascinating. I find it fascinating, and I think I think we really are speeding up right now. And you know, I think it for me personally, it hit me back in the late 80s, the reality of ascension. When I first heard about it, something just rang true. And it's just been a case where it's just gotten stronger and stronger in me that this is what it's all about. And personally, I think that with Blue Kachina and Red Kachina, my feeling is it's all about us. I think that they've almost kind of always been there. It's just we haven't been in the right frequency, and we are rising up in frequency now. Our consciousness is rising back up to where it was at one point in the past. So we're basically coming back and joining this reality, which is a much more positive reality than the one we've been stuck in.
Exactly. Yeah. I was told at the very beginning of my awakening, I would get these weird messages where my phone, like I said, I just woke up from a surgery different, and I would get these messages where my phone would open up on its own and start playing something, or my TV would freeze and repixelate to a weird picture, or I just get these weird web pages would open while I was sleeping. It would just be the weirdest thing, but always the information I needed, and I'd get this information at the very beginning that would say, you are point of the 00, it was so specific, it was so weird. You are point of the 0.00987% of the population is a higher consciousness right now. And I'd be like, this is so crazy. But now I think we've really surpassed like a 30 to 60% marker. It's like you said, it's speeding up. It's like a contagious thing, but it's the best contagious thing that's ever happened to humanity. You know what I mean? So I just think it's really great. And I appreciate you doing your show. I think it's so important for others to be able to have that facility to be able to connect with each other. And so I appreciate you having me on. I'll get off so somebody else can call in. But yeah, I think it's an important factor of what's going on. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you so much for sharing. It's been awesome and enlightening, and I hope you will join us again in the future.
I will. Thanks so much. Have a great night, everybody.
You too. Take care. So that was a great call from T. Taylor, and we'll definitely check out her channel and subscribe. It's, you know, really, I'd love to spend a lot more time on this subject because I think it's really the most important subject when you get down to it. It's all about consciousness. It's all about where are we? You know, where are we? Where are we in our hearts? Where are we in our minds and our lives? Are we actually living the lives that we're supposed to achieve the highest possibility for this life, which is such a critical life? This is such a special time that we're in. We have such a choice ahead of us right now to make that change, to say, yeah, I'm going to change. I am not going to basically wallow in fear or live in the matrix. And hello, my brother, who is loved massively by many.
I just wanted to shout out some love out there to everybody in the chat room and for behaving and being good. This is Gordon. I'm going live tonight, you guys. Putting out some love there if you all want to hop on over after Mike's done. Amen. Prayers for more. Go.
You know, thank you for doing what you did the other night. And you know, I was really like, I wanted to check out some of your music, and then I loved watching you play and sing, and it was great. And I just, you know, you could feel the vibrations coming from the heart. You are so heart-centered and a blessing to this family.
Amen, Michael. You know, again, we're meeting out here in Hopi Land, guys, November 29th, 2018. I think it gets pretty cold out there at night. But I'm looking forward to seeing the stars.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful to see the stars when you're away from all the city lights, and you could see the whole Milky Way. It just like, it's just so awesome to see it all. It's just awesome.
Can you imagine if all the nebulous gas just disappeared? How bright the Milky Way would be.
I never thought about that.
So I'm kind of doing this famous fasting thing, okay, and I'm putting it out there. My stories, you know, I'm a storyteller, and I want them to come to Hopi Land and famine fast with me and use that mustard seed, that placebo effect or belief is real, guys. It's neo-matrix stuff, right? Haven't learned yet how to fly. Okay, Michael, so don't believe it. Don't believe you can jump
off that cliff just yet. But I want to put that idea into people's eyes. I'm not asking you to move a mountain, just all that nebulous gas that blocks our view from the Milky Way. How does that sound?
It sounds great. Yeah, we have to just, get rid of anything, whatever it is, that is blocking our true vision from seeing, really what things can become. Whatever that is, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whatever it is that keeps us from, living a heart-centered life and seeing things in the way that they truly are and accepting them in that way. And then making those positive changes in our own life so that we're operating out of love all the time.
Man, you're the namesake of our champion. You're Michael, yo. You are archangel, angel, bro. So full of light. We don't need any more demons, guys. We don't need to make up any more demons out there or enemies to love. It's just us. It's just each other. If we can just love each other, no more enemies.
It's beautiful. That's where our focus has to shift. And thank you so much, Gordon, for sharing. It's the focus has to shift so that it's all about the love. Get rid of the fear. Don't let fear rule your life. Don't let fear become your parameter and your measuring stick, that you're looking at everything through a fearful lens. We need to get rid of that, and also get rid of, anything that is not of pure love, or of pure light. So anything that is going to cause jealousies, cause paranoia, whether it's, as I keep harping on, I was listening to a channel and I was enjoying a show until they started to just get into that same old paradigm of left versus right and Republican and Democrat, and they were getting it to a point, but then they went back in the same pit, and they're not realizing that that's all part of the same control matrix. And you have to look past that, because if you're starting to if you're showing hatred towards somebody because they're a Democrat or a Republican, that's not good. That's going to hold you down. So as soon as we allow ourselves to be infested with those negative energies, it pulls us down. So the only way is to get up and out of it and view it for what it is, and realize that that's all control. That's all part of that matrix. And and you know what? I mean, instead of having 32,000 subscribers, if I was to say unequivocally that I'm completely pro-Trump, I'm totally Republican, I'm totally conservative, I would have probably 65,000 in a month or two, because I would be in their matrix and I would be going up into the higher algorithms. And there are people out there that have already contacted me trying to get me to go that route. And it's not just that route, because if I chose the other route, it would help too. It's just a matter of going ahead and basically buying into their matrix. And that's what they want you to do. They want you to pick a side and fight with each other. It goes back to the Tower of Babel, because if we are united, who can stop us? Nobody. And they know that.
It's time. 11/11. So much love. I gotta go get ready for my show. I'm gonna have to skip out on you early. Do you mind adding Chris P as a moderator, and Ray? I think he needs to be one too.
Yeah, we will definitely keep increasing that as we go. And thank you for the suggestions, brother. And have a great show. We love you dearly, and keep spreading the love as you always do.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Bye, guys. I'll see you on the flip.
Namaste, Gordon. So that was our brother Gordon, who is actually a wonderfully talented musician and an extremely loving person, full of just nothing but love. Gets the bigger picture, as do so many others. And he had called out the Fifth World, who is, you got to check out her. Please check out her channel too. She is awesome. And like T. Taylor, she's all about what's coming and what is manifesting right now. So if you haven't checked out the Fifth World's channel, please do, and subscribe and show her some love. as well, because she's holding on to the vibration of love and of positive change, and that's what we have to do. So don't allow the negativity to grab hold of you. I mean, when you look at the mainstream now, if you're part of this family, if you're part of people that are going and looking to other sources for their information, like Mr. MBB that was brought up earlier, and so many others, Dutch Sense, there's Adapt 2030, there's so many great channels that are always giving it from a truthful stance. Dabu 777, if you check them out too. There's so many good ones out there. It becomes so obvious when you look at the ones that are under control of the handlers, and some have started to call them the handlers, because that's really what they are. They're the handlers of the matrix that we find ourselves in. This paradigm of basically keep everybody separate through getting them to fight with each other. The handlers of the matrix. So we need to step out of their control and do our own thing and create our own system, which it's part of our destiny, and it's part of what's happening right now. So we do have an open line. So it's 614-400-5835. Again, 614-400-5835. And share what you guys are thinking about what's going on. So many awesome callers, great people calling in. I saw some other names try to call in earlier when the phones were just lighting up like crazy. And there's so much to share about this. And really, this is what I've been talking about since I made the channel. We need to look at all angles. And when you start to really compare and you start going into the Hopi prophecies and so many other prophecies that are going on, start to read about the quantum physics of things, and then you hear about ascension, and it all makes sense. It all makes sense. Our dimensional perspective is changing. Reality is our reality that we are on is one particular channel on the radio. We could dial it up, we could dial it down. It's all a matter of perspective. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
This is Kim.
Hi, Kim. How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
Good. What would you like to talk about?
Well, two things. One, just a tidbit of information, because I feel like there's a lot of new people in the family that are maybe new to becoming prepared, and so I just wanted to speak to the tangible preparedness side, not to make light of the spiritual side that also needs to prepare, but just to give a little helpful hint to people who are maybe trying to prepare on a budget. I wanted to pass on some information.
Sure, that's definitely always good.
While I am not a member of the Mormon Church or Latter-day Saints Church, if you folks out there go to providentliving.org, you can click on, I think it's family preparedness or something, and you can get a list of all of the places in different states throughout the United States where they have, it's kind of like a grocery store for their members, but they also welcome people who are not members. I've gone there as not affiliated with their church multiple times and have purchased dry goods packaged in number 10 cans, which, if you don't know what that is, it's like a gallon. It's a really big can. And it's incredibly cheap. I mean, it's the cheapest way to prepare. And while the list of things that they have is relatively basic, just heads up, it's super cheap. They're very friendly. They don't push their relation on you. They're super good people. It's part of a doctrine of their church. I understand that they make their larders up to a year to feed their families, so it's part of their church culture. So it's really great source of information, so I wanted to pass that on. The other thing is, being a feeler and knowing that something is coming and dealing with the anxiety that's happening to me on a daily basis, I just wanted to throw this question out there. How long do you guys think we have till something like seriously changes, till the change is so severe that it starts affecting our day-to-day lives? And I know that's kind of a can of worms, because are you talking about, weather changing? Are you talking about political changes, some kind of war that's coming? I mean, there's so many, it's like we're on the precipice of something, and there's so many different things that could click to push us over at any time. You don't know which domino is going to fall first, you know what I'm saying? So how long do we have? I'm just curious what everyone thinks.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm looking out in the chat room, I'm seeing 7 years, 2 years, different numbers coming in. Next September, October is another one coming in. Personally, from what I've heard, is that there's going to be like a huge ramp up basically within the next 1 to 2 years, like the 2019, 2020, especially 2020-ish area. And then again, when you get to 2024, 2025, it's almost as if the world that we're in now is it's not the same world. Things have changed tremendously in that frame. Just it's a totally different world at that point. But there's a huge speed up at about 2020.
I agree with you. I have this feeling that, like, come January, February, March, we're going to notice something incredibly significant. And that is, if you look at the global food production and the crop failures that have been happening, across the world in just the last 6 months. In the grain belt, we had really late frost this year, so their crops are down by 20 to 30%. Those poor people in the Philippines, when they had that mag hunt, I probably didn't say that right, typhoon that just happened, they were just starting to harvest their rice and corn crops. And no one's really talked about that. And I could go on with multiple different examples on a regional level of things that have happened that have reduced, regions' crop outputs by 20 to 30%. And we can't think that that's not going to have an effect on our grain prices this winter. Our hay, our animal feed, everything's going to go up. And 20 to 30% reduction in output, that's massive.
Oh, it's huge, yeah. And it's manifesting already. You could see it. I mean, I just went shopping because the last 2 days, as I shared earlier, I was spent moving. So I'm now in my new location and just went out shopping. And it's like, you could see it. What's out there is way more expensive and it doesn't look quite as good. And the selection is less. And if you keep a sharp eye to it, of course, here in the United States, we still have more than so many other people in many parts of the world, but it's getting to be very, very tangible. And give it another year, or even just like you were saying, come next spring. I mean, the crop losses have been tremendous. They're huge.
But there's something that we don't think about because it doesn't touch us yet. So I just like to really encourage everyone to, if you've been on the fence about amping up the amount of stuff that's in your cupboards, or if you have animals and you have to have feed, buy the extra bag, get the extra can, do it when it's not so noticeable, and start now. That's all.
It's definitely time to stock up where you can, but also make changes in your personal habits, and as well as getting things growing for yourself. Think about setting up, if you have the ability to go ahead and start growing as much of your own food as possible. I think it's really wild because I'm noticing the more people I talk to, and maybe it's just the people that are in my circle, they don't eat much, and it's amazing. I think I'm just maybe encountering a lot of people that are on the ascension process, and they don't really even need to eat much. So I mean, when I'm encountering people and we're talking about these things, and maybe we're out to a restaurant or something like that, and they're just ordering something that's so small compared to how we've been so trained. Where you can have an appetizer, you're going to have what's going to be your entree, and and then dessert. But people are just having an appetizer and that's it. And that might be all they eat for the day. It's just amazing how many people are eating less and less, and I think it's part.
Good for us.
It's part of. It might be part of the collective consciousness kicking in, realizing for one, it's healing to eat a little bit less and give your system a break, but also what's coming. We're kind of getting prepared, maybe subconsciously as well. And I've shared with people before that the one thing that always increases lifespan is caloric restriction. So, if you're a 170-pound guy and typically 2,000 calories, 2,200 calories keeps you at the same weight, you can go down to 1,500 and you'll actually live longer, have a healthier life with less ill effects as well. And it's been shown.
Especially if you're eating whole foods and not crap from a box.
Exactly. Yeah, the processed food. Yeah, whole real foods are the key.
I live in the high desert, which is really kind of a strange, at a very high elevation. So gardening and animals and life out here is a whole different kind of dynamic. But we did an experiment this summer with gardening, and not that I haven't gardened before, I have. We just tried it in a different way, and I'd really love to encourage everyone who can to throw up some plastic with some hoops, old PVC. You can get really creative online, and throw some of those cool crops in the ground that'll grow in the fall, because you might as well get your feet wet now and learn what works and what doesn't work. There's things that you can still get in the ground right now: beets, cabbage, lettuces, spinach, snow peas. I mean, depending on your climate, you get it under a little hoop house and you can still be successful, and it's a pretty cool experiment. So just a little dose of encouragement there. That's all. I know you have lots of other people that would love to chat with you. So I'll let you go with that.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and that's definitely very practical and right on the mark, and we need to get going with this. You're so right. We all need to get going, get organized.
Hey, congratulations on the move. So glad you moved to a higher elevation. Good job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it feels way better being over 3,000 than being at about 8 feet.
Yeah. It changes your ability to, go on long hikes until you get a little accustomed to it. But yeah, it's good. Better air up high.
Definitely. And it just feels clearer and more peaceful.
Yeah, more in tune.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you. Bless you, my friend.
You too. Take care, and thanks for sharing.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Who do we have with us now?
Hi, Mark. It's Phoebe.
Hi. How are you?
Oh, I lost you. I lost my account. I'm on my third account now. I got flushed with a bunch of other people.
Well, what would you like to share tonight with everybody?
Okay, I wanted to know, I'm not at the computer because I'm in the other end of the house, so I can't really read what's going on. I'm trying to talk low because last time I called in, when I listened back, it was really loud because my ears are still ringing. So I'm trying to not beat up everyone's ears. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. So, my ears started ringing probably about 4 months ago. Well, I think I understand what's going on. I'm like a half-wit medium psychic. Like I smelled the gas for a whole week before it blew up over in Massachusetts. So, yesterday I started smelling that gas again. So somebody had suggested to me in another room to light a candle. Well, I found a Christmas candle that was pine, and I'm not smelling that gas. But I don't know if it's, something here in the house. My hon, he's a master electrician. So we've been together for over 3 years, and I thought maybe he's carrying an electrical charge. So
But anyway, I'd go back in the room, and it would be, I mean, I haven't even been able to sleep in the bedroom. Sometimes it would be like a pressure, like I was in an airplane, and my ears would fill up, and it just chases me right out of the room. So he had went to the doctors about a month or two ago, and his doctor told him to get his affairs in order. So, you know, he's dying, and I just wanted to know, have you ever heard of anybody maybe having a constant, it's not like a ring, it's like a hum, buzz, pitch. I mean, it can go to different tones.
Yeah.
But has anybody ever had that experience that if somebody was dying, that it would affect them and make their ears ring and maybe the pressure when they get near them in a closed-in space?
I'm not sure as far as like what somebody else dying, but actually it was interesting because as you're talking about this, there's so many people talking about ears ringing in the chat room. And
Yeah.
I've noticed it too, and you know, I noticed it a lot. Actually, I noticed it more down in Florida than up here in the mountains. I don't know what it is. You know, it's part of the ascension process, I think. It could be even pressure changes from what's going on electromagnetically with the other heavenly bodies, you know, whether we call them Planet X, Nibiru, or anything like that, interacting with the Earth itself, because it's all electromagnetic frequencies. But yeah, a lot of people are hearing this pitch or hum, vibration. T. Taylor was just saying that as well.
I've had 2 days of relief. Now, I know they're rolling out the 5G, so there might be certain people like us that might, you know, maybe that are switching them on certain places. But, like, I went out of town and we had went to a lake 2 separate occasions. I went swimming. You know, I was gone the whole day. My ears stopped ringing. You know, I like to swim underwater. I like to do all that neat stuff. And my ears stopped ringing. I came home the next day, my ears were ringing again. So I don't know if it's him, if it's, you know, the house. I mean, we've been in the house for over a year. And I even went to a neurologist. I'm going to go get a massage. I got a certificate for my birthday. I went to a neurologist because I'd broken my neck, and they were like, nothing we can do. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm taking silver, colloidal silver, I'm taking iodine. Somebody had mentioned cell salt.
Right, so
I thought maybe it might be related to him dying. I mean, I'm very close to him. I didn't date for 10 years before we got together. I just was okay being alone, and this started ringing before he even found out that he was terminal.
right. Yeah, well, there could be some degree of that with it. I think the majority of people are thinking it's an ascension symptom, and it is one of the main ascension symptoms that you hear. So, you know, you are changing frequency and vibration, so it's giving you these symptoms, and that's one of the key ones that we hear so often.
Well, I wish I'd changed already. Okay, I don't think this should be torturous. If it's supposed to be an ascension for the good thing, why are we got to go through all this ringing and annoying, and the migraines and the headaches?
Yeah, it's just part of getting used to higher frequencies. So it's something that will pass. And yes, Ray is talking about perhaps clear quartz and some selenite could help. You know, there's definitely some things that could probably help with you as far as help alleviate some of the symptoms. And
well, you had suggested before to try a massage even, and he went and got me. Oh, that was a real funny story. He's got a heart of gold, but he went to call for a massage for me for a gift. Well, he ended up calling the wrong massage parlor. So they wanted to know if I'd like a shower. And he's like, no, my girl will shower before she gets there. Because he was asking the price. And it went on, and here it was one of those dirty little shops, and he finally got it when they asked him, is she into fantasy? And he's like, fantasy? What do you mean? Well, like outfits. So I got a little reluctant to go to get a massage. He's like, no, I checked this one out. It's okay.
Yeah. That's a different type of massage there. So T. Taylor said that notice when you're notice what you are doing, what you're thinking about, what you're doing when you're getting that pressure change. Notice what's going on.
It's mostly when I go back in the bedroom, and that's more closed in than the living room. But as far as it's the bedroom, and we don't have a smart meter. It's an old meter, not a smart meter. So I even thought about that, and he's supposed to bring the electric thing in and see if there's like electric anywhere that's coming out. I don't know. I mean, it just gets frustrating, and you get like, because there's nothing you could do. If I could stick my head in a bucket and breathe through a straw, I would.
Right. Yeah, I understand. I definitely. Somebody suggested try hanging upside down on the inversion table, but it's one of those things. I would suggest again take more time for meditation as well, and to go deeper within it. So when you start to notice that going, happening, see if you could excuse yourself from wherever you are and go into meditation and see what you feel.
I've never meditated in my life. I've never. I mean, I just get pictures or sense. Another thing that popped in, that lady that they have standing up on Capitol, she's not going to live very long, and they're gonna make it look like he did it. She's gonna be like a sacrificial lamb. So I gotta tell somebody something, because otherwise it happens. When I don't say it, it's like, I knew it was gonna happen. I didn't know about the gas though. That was, nobody in the whole neighborhood uses natural gas or propane gas. So there was no reason for me to smell it. They don't have a tag on it. Like Boston, Massachusetts, but I've seen that lady. She's not going to make it too long. And it's going to come out that it's going to be someone in connection with that lady that brought it up, that got the letter. But they're going to try their best or that's going to be a sacrifice deal.
Yeah, there's always so many of these, things going on. So, like with those, I always view them as more or less distractions, from the bigger picture.
Yeah, I think it's all a big distraction, what's going on. So, I mean, they closed the observatory. That's a little weird. And, the weather here, the way this crazy hurricane went. I even named it the crazy hurricane before the news did. So, and we're going to get a repeat of that. We just don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure. Well, thank you so much for sharing it with us again, and it's always a pleasure to hear you.
Okay, well, I found you again. You take care, and thanks for, I'm going to read back in the chat and see if anybody else has ever had the experience.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff for you to read through there, so there's a lot of replies.
Very much love and light. Well, fine, and I'm in North Carolina, so we stayed, and we made it.
And what part of North Carolina are you in?
I'm outside of Raleigh.
Okay, yeah.
I'm up by the Neuse River. We had about 5 more feet to go before it would get that bridge and take out that one bridge here. But it went down some. It started going down yesterday. So,
wow.
And we live in like a nicer trailer park that's got a lot of land. And we got this mystery flu a week before the hurricane ever hit. And I was flat on my back. There was no way I could load my car. And, I had all my preparations and everything. But the way things were, there was nowhere really to go. I mean, the roads were pretty much filling up. And so we were like, when we seen it went down to a Cat 1, we stayed. So, and then even afterwards with the flooding, I mean, most of the roads were filled up. So, but we didn't get it too bad here. I mean, we're up on higher ground, so even if that would have went 63 feet or whatever they were calling for, because it had 20 feet, about 20 feet to hit that bridge. So it had risen about 15 feet. The news did. That's right here. So, yeah, we lucked out, most definitely.
Well, yeah, that was a tremendous storm. Tremendous, with everything that's going on. So many people think that it's manufactured, and I've gotten that from so many people telling me it's manufactured, and it does feel weird.
I've seen some stuff on those weather maps. I saw that storm. Now, really, what kind of wind do you think would have taken it? Which there was no wind coming off the East Coast. The wind comes onto the East Coast, but supposedly there was this wind blowing towards a 140-mile-an-hour storm. How tough would that wind have to be to dissolve a 140-mile-an-hour storm? Think about it.
Yeah. So the fifth world says look up Reddit tinnitus cure. So that's what she was recommending for you. But yeah, I mean, it definitely felt weird. Yeah, I guess if I had to lay money down, I would say, yeah, it's being controlled. If I had to make a choice, I think, yeah, it's being controlled. It feels like it's being controlled on purpose, but...
Well, I used to live out there in Florida around you, and you live out in Florida, right?
I did. Actually, I'm up in the mountains now. I just moved.
Okay, I probably rode out about at least five hurricanes. Jeannie, Francis, they hit within 2 miles and 2 weeks apart. Wilma, never in my life did I see every branch of the military, which today I started taking some videos of all the planes flying overhead, the helicopters and all that. But I've never seen the National Guard, the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Cajun Navy, the Army and Marines, and apparently there is a little pocket Air Force, within our town. So for a Cat 1, okay, and then we had some coal ash spill, and we got some hot shutdowns on the nuke plants. So unless we're in a lot more trouble than we realize, and we're trying to keep the calm because people's roads are washed out. They just can't. 95 shut down, I-40 shut down, 17 out in Fayetteville is shut down. I think after a while, I don't know how they're going to get truck in the food, and they got the supply helicopters and everything, but how much are they going to be able to helicopter in?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree, and we need to again, put everybody there in our prayers, and because it's horrible, and the whole nuclear meltdown scenario, which is maddening, and I mean, I talked about that on videos like 6-7 months ago, just saying it's a ticking time bomb, and somebody needs to do something about this at a governmental level. And recognize that these are ticking time bombs, and it's just like waiting for a nuclear bomb to explode. It's
exactly.
Crazy.
And I think we've got about 10 nuke plants out here, and I know they shut one down before. Now we've lost power about 3 times. We lost it today, and nothing happened. It might have been one of those things on the pole blowing. Because it actually sounded like a Doctor Who tourist thing landing up at the church. So it just made like a really weird noise, and then it finally just cut finally. So, but we lost it maybe an hour and got our power right back. I don't know, but there's people, they were saying 3 million people, and it was weird. It was 820,000 lost power, and 770,000, and 700,000, and yet they only fixed 15,000. It was like, well, and it's the same news channel. And it was like, well, which was it? What was the, if you fix 50, and then that leaves 805,000 people without power. But they were predicting 3 million without power before the storm even hit.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's totally crazy. Yeah, I think we could see through it too. And then if you saw the typhoon out there, Mangkhut in Philippines, that thing was crazy strong. That was just so intense. It was amazing. Did you see the video that I was showing of the one lady that was pinned down
in China
with the wind?
Yeah, she got rolled into the little brick wall there.
Yeah, it's crazy how strong that is.
Didn't that hit them the same date that this hit North Carolina? Wasn't that the 14th in China? Or was it Hong Kong on the 14th?
I think it hit the Philippines the same day, and China was like a day later, but I might be off.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't know. It's all weird. I mean, who knows what they can do? I've been seeing get off the coast for about a year. Warnings, get off the coast, get off the coast.
Yeah, and I felt that loud and clear, honestly, now, and it felt like it was time to move quickly. And I do feel like something else is imminent. So many people are feeling it. I'm hearing it from people about something imminent. I think a lot of people are feeling that there's something, in regards to a bigger war that is close, but also it could be fear-mongering as well, because we do see it, and they do love to stir it up and create fear.
I had the anxiety for a couple months, and that went along with my ears starting to ring. But then the anxiety subsided, and there's no medications, no nothing. I mean, I just take vitamins and minerals. That's it. So, that kind of went down, a little anxiety with the storm, but not bad like it was, but it just felt like another shoe was going to drop, and, I'm getting my second wind now, I don't know.
Yeah, the other thing too, which has been unnoticed by a lot of people, is how many close calls we've had with asteroids. Because there was one that recently went by at 0.08, an astronomical unit. That's so close. So close. And we've had a lot of close calls this year. And that's one of the things that I've been, I don't know, I've just had a little bit of a premonition about, because if you have one of those hit, say, the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Florida or something, then you're going to get a massive tsunami. And that would not be a good thing.
No, not at all. But I just hope flow don't come back for a repeat. I mean, that's supposed to go through that upper, supposed to spin out off the top of the states, and then that high pressure is supposed to spin back around and come right back into the Atlantic Ocean. So whether it hits East Coast or goes down, who knows? But I know we're not going to be able to stop in any more water anytime soon. I mean, and people are going to get so sick here. It's, he still has some ties with the military, and I said, well, you ought to see what they got for cholera and stuff like that, because we got hog farms, chicken farms, coal ash. We're going to have, people's septics overflowing and stuff like that. So when this stuff does go down, it still ain't going to be over.
No. Well, thank you so much for sharing, sister. It's always a pleasure, and God bless and namaste as always.
Well, God bless, and may light be with everybody.
Well, thanks for sharing, Dawn. Take care.
Good night.
So many things touched on in that last call. So many things touched on. Many of you guys are talking about Dutch, and out in the chat room right now, and him wanting to hang it up because he's getting frustrated, and perhaps not even frustrated, but perhaps threatened to an all new degree which does kind of happen, at times. And very, very interesting times we live in. Hello, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself? How's everybody doing out there, EEA world?
So, guys, this is Netsaya. This is our brother Netsaya. And what would you like to talk about? I know we've been talking about a lot of stuff, and honestly, I wish I could have replied more to all the stuff that we have been talking about, just with the move and all. I was preoccupied, but I'm so excited to finally be situated in a spot where, okay, now I could just relax and work, because this is where I'm going to hang and go through the rest of this.
Wow, that sounds phenomenal, just hearing that alone, because I could tell that once you gather yourselves, yes, I said yourselves in plural, once you gather yourselves, I can already tell that you're going to be able to multi-function, not just multi-function through the different planes of existence, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and knowing you, even the metaphysical, all at once, simultaneously, lovely, like a great orchestrator should.
Well, thank you so much. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling, especially here. I mean, it might sound crazy to some people, but my first night sleeping here last night, and I dreamed about the old man in the mountain, and I could feel like the energies around me, the Native American energies, the old energies that are here around me, and the natural energies, the elemental energies, the nature spirits, things along those lines. Definitely a different energy here. I know I'm going to be able to connect on a much deeper level. I'm going to be able to have really good meditation and QiGong sessions, and go to a much higher level again.
That's beautiful, and since you have that in mind, I must mention to you that from this point on, you got to have in your conscious state of mind that you're technically now in the fourth dimension. Okay, simultaneously living through third, transitioning over to fifth. The reason why I can say that is because you're technically, literally, so close to nature right now. You can easily walk into nature almost at will. When you're in that state, you're even further into the fourth dimension, because the fourth dimension, just like many have heard, that we kind of in a sense skip it. Yeah, in a sense we skip it, but we can still perceive it, because the fourth dimension, well, the portal to the fourth dimension, technically, that we can all access, and you don't have to be enlightened, you don't have to be even good, for that matter, as sad as that may sound, but it's in the heart chakra. It's the Merkaba. Once you start being less me, and more us, we, as a group, as a collective, that's when you naturally start living up the fourth dimension. Those of you who are somewhat, or exactly like I just mentioned, about not being me anymore, us, you guys, I'm sure you guys can attest that you guys are more what? Sympathetic, all of a sudden. Why? Because you're more angelic. You can perceive the nature and spirit realm, which is the fourth dimension. And that's why they say we skip it. Yeah, we can't see it, but we can perceive it. That's where our loved ones communicate with us. Believe it or not, we don't hear their voices. We just get this thought all of a sudden, and then, I don't know, someone calls and, hey, I was thinking of your father and this and that. I was like, wow, I was just thinking of my father. That's weird. So that's like your father. I know it sounds weird, but that's how it works. It truly works this way, okay? And then once you start to fall into the moment, which for you is going to be easy, and I'm sure you probably had this situation before, you'll go into fifth dimension. It's not, you don't go nowhere. It's here. It's here. It's just a perception. After a certain point, you reach a certain level where you, in a sense, stay there in the fifth dimension. And trust me, to those of you who have not done the inner work, the fifth dimension is not a nice place. It's not a nice place, because the ego will, I'm sorry to put it this way, but the ego will fuck you over. But if you can make your ego, function at a service to the heart, oh my God, that is heaven on in the flesh. Heaven on Mother Earth, something you can call home. H-O-M-E. So, with this in mind, Michael, I would like to explain a little bit about the mystery with the dates of 9/2/3, meaning September 23rd. You guys, more than half of you, I'm sure, oh yeah, I seen it in this movie, and that movie, and this movie, and that movie. Well, let me tell you what's the real significance of that, okay? Because remember, everything's hidden in plain sight, and they have to tell you everything, right? Because in that way, they get away with it. That's what they think. They don't get away with it. The intention is still there, so they're thinking oddly, because they're not going to get away with it because they tell us through the movies and this and that. No, they're not going to get away with it. But anyway, just like another caller was saying that Project Bluebeam thing, yeah, it stopped working August 27th of last year. They dismantled it. The good galactic brothers and sisters, there are out there. But anyways, back to the September 23rd. For those of you who understand the zodiac, when does the scales begin to take effect? Meaning Libra, meaning liberation, meaning liberty, meaning the constellation Libra. When does it start? It starts at exactly September 33rd. Now, isn't that something beautiful, people? Oh, I wish you guys can hear and feel my heart right now. It's pumping so hard because I know some of you are like, aha, there's nothing to fear about. Well, some of you are, but a lot of you are actually saying that like, oh, that makes sense. It's judgment. They're telling us that we're going to be judged, meaning all of us, even them. Okay, so what I'm getting at is September 13th is Libra. Okay, now the liberation will start. Okay, get this. Check this out. So the element is air. What you were just talking about, a certain God, if you may. You didn't mention it that way, but a certain God almost beating up a human. What was it? Wind. Okay, air. So then, what is the ruling planet? Venus. And I know that you remember what we were talking about already before, the past 2 days or so, and you'll see in a bit to come. But anyways, the importance of that Venus, okay, connection. Then what is it? What is the symbol? Scales. What do we know about the scales? Judgment. Okay, zodiac symbol, it equals balance. Okay, one last thing, the zodiac quality is cardinal. Now keep this in mind, cardinal. They just closed an observatory, right? Well, guess what? In case you guys don't know, I'm about to blow your guys' minds and your hearts, especially you Christians and Catholics, okay? And remember, Michael and I are Christians, right? We understand the true Christianity, okay? But what I'm getting at is, in case you guys don't know, the Jesuits have an observatory in Arizona, okay? And it just so happens to be only steps away from another observatory called Lucifer. Look it up. I'm not lying. Look it up. You will find it. Now, the Jesuits own a lot of the observatories. All of a sudden, those observatories went blank. Not all of them closed, but they went blank. Why? Because the scales are coming. Pretty soon, you're going to hear the Pope open up to something, supposedly disclosure and this and that, trying to scare you people, us brothers and sisters, about trying to scare us against our galactic star brothers and sisters. And I forgot one thing. I was going to start off with an ancient opening of the ancient Essenes. Each time they would start their ceremonies, they would say, Heavenly Father and Earthly Mother. And then they will continue with whatever they were intending to do. Once again, Heavenly Father, Earthly Mother. Where did the Earthly Mother go in the equation nowadays? They didn't want the balance. So the balance is coming back, people. And for some, yeah, it's going to be very scary. But that's the only way you're going to do the same thing that our Father, if that's what you want to call it, Jesus of Nazareth, did. He had to, for his passion, go through suffering. Because that's the only way we truly learn in a real way, in a metaphoric way, as odd as that may sound. Okay? Crazy thing about the September 23, okay, again, the cardinal quality, the cardinal quality, okay, cardinal, what do you hear that word in? Cardinal. It's in the church. So a cardinal quality cardinality is attached to the signs Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. That is the true sign that you see behind Jesus of Nazareth, that circle that has a cross that is not necessarily a cross. It's more like a plus sign that is equally cutting the full circle, because those are the 4 seasons. So one last thing, well, a few more things is the cardinal houses. I already told you that. So the chart shows a prepartitus of planets in these houses. Its energy is weighed toward cardinality. Cardinal signs are the initiators of the zodiac. Now keep this in mind, the moon was said to be in Libra when Rome was founded. We know what Rome is connected with, right? There's nothing against Italian people, Roman people, no. It's just we know what we know about history, all right? Where was the Vatican founded? Okay, everything was balanced under this righteous sign. The Roman writer Manelius once said that Libra was the sign in which the seasons are balanced. Seasons, cut that word, sea, sons of seas. One last thing, look this up, eventually you will find it. There's going to be, God is, like in the Bible it states, God opened the floodgates. Okay, and actual water came down. I am starting to believe that actually happened. When I see certain videos, I can see literally oceans dropping on a city. It's insane what it looks like. But if you guys look it up, Saturn is believed to actually have this explosion once before. It was the same size of Jupiter, and when it had this explosion, that's how the rings were made. But this energy that lasted, just like one of the callers is saying, that the energy takes a while to reach us, that actual water came in when that happened. And this happens every 10,000 or so cycles is where I found this information with the cycle. But that resembles or reflects the cycles that a lot of us know about, the 11,000-year cycle. Everything's connected to 11. If you guys, well, not everything, but a lot of things. There's like, 11 years to the solar minimum, 11 years to the solar maximum. There's many different connections to those numbers. Again, 1-1, balance. Hello.
Exactly, balance. And that's what we've been out of. We haven't had balance. And, it's, as I was saying before, it's almost like the powers that be, and some people might hate that terminology, whatever we call them, the controllers, however we want to label them, they seem to hate balance. They seem to hate Mother Earth, and Gaia, Mother Earth, whatever you want to call the planet itself. They seem to have a disdain for it. And it's just so deep. How could people do the things they do, knowingly hurting all the forms of life that live here, and seem to delight in it? It's pretty evil, really. But as you're pointing out, balance is coming, and the scales are going to be righted. And we see the scales in many other traditions as well. What happens, in the Egyptian afterlife? You're basically, your soul is weighted against a feather, and again, the scales come in to see what is our vibration. What is our natural state of being? What are we putting out into the world? Light and love, peace and harmony, brotherhood, sisterhood. Or are we doing the opposite, putting out destructive energies, malevolent energies, negative energies? I do think that, I do think, and maybe I view the world from a half full perspective, but I think most people are pretty good in their hearts, and I think that we've been basically conditioned, and in so many ways we've also been. We've been hurt, and it's done through the conditioning we receive as children, and through many different ways, through the vaccines, through the negative conditioning that society enforces, and so much of the time we can't even see how it's truly negative. But
okay.
Go ahead, my brother.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go right ahead with what you were thinking.
So today, I even got a chance to talk to my mother, okay? And then one thing I was talking about, like my grandmother, who was a Yaqui indigenous, and she's over 100. She fell and hit her head. She seems to be okay, but I had to call her to let her know the news, and she started to get a little emotional. I said, look, Mom, we have to be strong here. I can understand that she was younger, okay, but she's lived a full life. You know, we have to accept the fact that we must let her go, and she's going to go when she wants to go. But the point is that then I asked her, so like, look, okay, according to you, let's accept reality for one. Death is death. To me, death is beautiful because that is when life begins. What I mean by this is that I asked her, I said, what is your interpretation of what do we know? What is the church? What does the Bible tells us that once we die, where do we go? And she took a little while, and then, you know, she started to say, well, you know, they say that we go to purgatory, judgment, whichever one, and then from there, where God sends us, either, you know, heaven or hell. It's like, okay, and where do you believe that most of us go to? According to what the church tells us, is like, well, hell. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, why did you just focus on the negative? How can you even believe that we go to hell? And then I asked her, and then I told her, like, how can you actually accept the fact that supposedly we were born in sin? That's degrading God. That's saying that God is evil, that God is bad. Like, how is that? How does that make sense that a beautiful child of light was born in sin? It's because they made us fear. Okay, so you guys gotta remember that fear is an acronym for false energy appearing as reality. And once you see that and you're able to polarize that, it won't have power over you. And then you'll be as a child, just like the Bible states, and you'll be able to play with that information and just throw it away, put it inside a ball and kick it. Seriously, it really does work that way when you try to. Oh, I wish I remember this quote by Manly P. Hall, a 33-degree Freemason, but he was a good one. He's one of the only ones that wasn't born into it. They sought him out, and he's seen like, well, you know what? I don't like them, but I can use this platform to spread the knowledge of light. And when you hear his speeches, you're going to be like, how is this guy a Freemason? Why do I always keep hearing these bad things about Freemasons? Well, yeah, they try to make you fear everything. Okay, so you won't look into things. What was it?
Well, you know, hold on to that one thought, because that is that's one of the biggest, keyest thoughts. They try to make you fear everything, so you won't look into it. So I mean, that is you just hit the nail on the head. That is so true, and it's so powerful, and that's one of the main ways they've kept so many people in the dark.
Yes, and I mean, everybody that knows something, meaning that has power, whatever that may be to anybody, they understand the fact that civilization progresses in cycles. And with that in mind, new comprehension periodically, especially this time around, transforms mankind into higher beings. The Bible is true, is correct, but some of you are taking the word of man that came from certain people from the church. I'm not saying everybody that goes to church, I still go to church every now and then. I'm not saying that everybody goes to church is bad. No. Just like every government is not bad. There's just certain people infiltrated within it, and they have power to control, manipulate. They understand the mind and this and that. And that's how it's going to hit us, this awakening, as some of you are starting to understand, that it's going to hit us mainly mentally and emotionally. And the reason why I was trying to bring up that ancient saying from the Essenes is that Heavenly Father, in case you guys don't know, the ringing of the ears, yes, it is an ascension a tool used by the ascended masters, the ones that are connected to you individually. Okay, the reason why that is there is so you can escape from your physical hearing, okay, and explore into your internal hearing. You're being forced to go in. How do I know? It's because I've been going through these ringing of the ears, and one I hear that 500. What is it? It used to be 528, now it's like 532. Another one I hear that at 872 or so. Trust me, I know because I took sound engineering classes specifically for frequencies. But anyway, so Heavenly Father, when you hear ringing on the right ear equals a call, if you want to call it that, from Heavenly Father, meaning your star brothers and sisters. Inspiration. Inspiration is the manner in which new knowledge comes to man from the cosmos. And then earthly mother is the left ear. If you hear ringing on the left ear, that is loud on the left ear, that's your ancestors, your love, your dead, your past, deceased loved ones trying to give you information. I know it sounds weird and crazy, but trust me, I've been living through this since about 2004, before 2005. But once I was blown up all those times, some weird thing happened inside of me. I was forced to go in because I was going crazy outside.
Right. Yeah, and those are great observations. And we only got about a minute left, so I just wanted to wrap this up. But great observations, brother. So dead on. And there's really nothing to fear. It's a huge change that we're going through. There is a lot of fear that's been put into us so that we won't look in the directions that we need to look in order to really understand what's happening. And ultimately, the outcome is one that's really, really good. And as you were saying, yeah, it's a transition, and we're transitioning through the fourth and into the fifth, which all these different dimensions are layered one upon the other where we are right now. And as I'm talking, I'm going to say goodbye to our Revolutionary Radio broadcast. And I want to thank everybody for sharing that with us. And we'll see you guys next Tuesday at 10 as I wrap up the YouTube here too. But it's basically a transition. And it's a transition. That's what it is. And that's what we're going through. And the reality is we don't really die. And I could say personally, I have met personally and talked to probably around 9 or 10 people that have actually been clinically dead. And they all said the same thing. When they get on the other side, there's nothing but pure love, the greatest love they've ever experienced, and they have absolutely no fear of jumping to the other side. Not one person has experienced hellfire and damnation. So, that's something that's instilled in us to basically keep us in fear and away from the truth. And that whole doctrine of original sin is one that puts us into a negative fear-based path right from the beginning.
Yep, and that's what we're being pointed to. One last thing so we can finish up is, remember where the county was the observatory in? Sacramento. What is sacrament? Why do they make us supposedly eat the body and blood of Christ? How does that make sense? It's not supposed to be that way, people. We're supposed to intake the information that Jesus of Nazareth left us before he became Christ so that we can ingest that. Remember, we're being forced to go inside. That's why you guys are hearing the ringing in the ears. Love you all. One love, one light. For together our light will shine much brighter, y'all. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Natsaya. Much love to you, much respect, and thank you for being my friend.
Yeah, most definitely. One love to all you as well. Thank you, brother.
Take care, Natsaya. Always a great call with Natsaya. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And we'll be here every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time till midnight. Also, now that I am settled in and going to ride out the rest of the storm in this place or in this area, which is nice, we should be able to do more live streams and try to pretty much do them 3 or 4 nights a week so we could get more people interactive and sharing, because it's so important to share what you're feeling with your family, and we are your family. So thank you guys for joining me once again. Love, light, and peace to you all. God bless, my friends.